Hey guys, what's up? It's Kate. I know this is a little off the cuff, a little candid, but I am speaking live today about how to make money with speaking engagements. If you're like me and you love speaking, but you've been doing it for a while and you're doing it for free, then you're doing it wrong. So this isn't part of my services. I don't coach people on how to public speak. So this isn't a pitch. It's really just kind of my candid experience with how I actually started making money doing them, because I've been doing them frequently now for a couple of years, and I always wonder the same thing myself, like how do I actually monetize this? So I figured it'd be helpful to kind of go live and share the story, because I actually booked a gig this week. A little bit crazy. I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina now, which isn't the worst place to be. And then I'm actually flying in tonight only to turn around, drive 3 hours tomorrow to go to Deep Creek Lake at Garrett College and give this talk. It's called the Power of Possibilities Summit. It's amazing. It has a lot of cool entrepreneurs and small businesses there. A lot of them are doing very awesome things with like organic, sustainable companies and yoga businesses. So I'm really excited to check it out. But I got the call earlier this week, and you know, it's tight turning around, flying back from the South, heading up there, hopping in a car and going to speak. So I really had to make sure it was worth my time. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I have some notes here just so I can make sure that I hit on them. Like I said, this isn't like a very formal thing. It's more of my experience with it. But I really want to make sure I mention some key points here that were really big steps in getting me to start getting paid and capitalizing on these speaking engagements. So the first thing you have to do is obviously you have to position or brand yourself as a public speaker, right? And that's kind of a given or obvious maybe, but the first place you actually have to do that at is with yourself internally. And here's what I mean. When I started doing my business, I was still working at a company. I was in corporate, and I kind of took on these side gigs for friends who owned businesses, and I would help them with branding and social media and marketing. And because I like so enjoyed doing it, and I just did it anyways, like even after I got home from work, I would read marketing books, and I had a blog. I felt really guilty asking for money. Like I was asking permission to get paid. Meanwhile, I saw all these people around me who had businesses and they were making a ton of money on consulting. And I'm like, what's the deal here? You know, I'm working 10 times more than these people, but I'm not making money. So the biggest like aha moment, and again, it's kind of like a given or an obvious, is one day it just kind of came to me. It's like, of course they're making money. They ask for money, you don't. So you really need to position yourself, again, first internally, and be okay with charging to do something you love and something you're good at. This is the other thing. Things that we're naturally good at, usually you don't recognize that you're naturally good at them because it comes so natural to you. So it's like this kind of complex of, oh, I can't charge for that because it's so easy. Well, guess what? It's not easy for everybody. Like public speaking is a skill. It's just like any other, area of expertise. And it is something you should absolutely charge for. So the first thing you have to do is kind of reframe it in your mind and say, okay, I'm okay asking for money. Just because I love doing it, just because I'm flattered when they ask me to speak, doesn't mean that I'm not going to give myself permission to charge for it. So first thing you want to do is kind of reframe that internally. Get okay with, okay, this is an area of my business. It brings an income, and I have no problem sitting here and saying, I'm happy to do this speaking engagement, but this is my fee. The second thing you need to do is position yourself and brand yourself as a speaker externally. So if nobody knows that public speaking or doing speaking engagements is something that you're into, they're not going to ask you to speak. It's as simple as that. Like you can't just wait around and ask for people to come and say, oh, can you public speak? You have to go out there and say, I frequently do this. I speak and put it on your website. So a lot of my clients that have told me, we really want to pay or get paid to speak, we set up a speaking page right on their website. You need to advertise it. You need to let them know. Same thing on LinkedIn. I actually haven't done this yet. My friend Wendy has. I don't know if she's watching, but she started to publicly speak, and she very smartly put it as her LinkedIn, as part of her LinkedIn description. So it's like Wendy, I think it says like .connect or a few other things that she's amazing at, and then it says speaker. That's great. So that way, even when you come up on search on LinkedIn, people know you speak. So positioning your brand yourself on your website, on your social media, on channels like LinkedIn to publicly, as a public speaker, put that as your title. The second kind of part of this, so the one is positioning yourself as a speaker. The second part of this is getting engagement. So we all want to get paid to speak, right? How do you go about getting those? Well, I can tell you exactly how I started booking mine. I actually connected with somebody who frequently got paid to speak about marketing at conferences. His name is Andrew Rose. He's amazing. If those of you in Baltimore, even outside of Baltimore, he runs the marketing director support group. Tremendous resource, well-connected guy, great public speaker. So he was speaking at these things, and I actually told him, I said, look, Andrew, I admire that you do these things. I really want to get paid to speak as well. How do you do that? So the first part was, again, me positioning myself as a speaker to him knowing that I was interested, and guess what? He sent me so many public speaking engagements, and he has actually connected me with people who have the power to book public speakers. So that conversation, that relationship with him is amazing. So find out who in your local area, and maybe even in your industry, frequently get paid to public speak. Then connect with them and ask them, how do you do it? I want to start doing it. And people like to help people. They're going to push public speaking engagements at you. They're going to connect you with people who want to book public speakers. So kind of build that list of like 5 to 10 people who are doing it in your area, who are doing it for money, and take them out. Like take them out for a cup of coffee and ask them how they started doing it. The second thing, and the second part of the second part is, oh, thanks. Hey, Rachel. For those of you, by the way, who are watching this on LinkedIn later, because I always repurpose my comments, if I just spontaneously shout out people's names, it's because this was originally on Facebook Live, so I don't, I'm not just shouting things out. So the second part of this is agencies and bureaus. They when I was younger, I used to model. I had an agent. The agent booked me gigs for pay. So much easier to do than sit there and try and book gigs directly. They have relationships. I am not personally with an agent or a bureau, but I know a lot of people who are. Some of the biggest speakers in the world, Daniel Pink, Condoleezza Rice, they're with the, I think, Speakers Bureau out of DC. They represent a lot of people. That's like really high level. You should probably have written like a New York Times bestseller if you're going to get them to represent you, and these people are making buku money speaking. But there are more local ones, and I think like Maryland, for instance, I'm from Baltimore, they have like the Maryland Speakers Society, and you go there and you give a speech, you have a prep speech, you have a few of them, and I think that they judge you, or they make sure that your content is good. And then if you're ordained by them, if you pass, they actually go out and they get speaking gigs for you. So check out bureaus and agencies in your area who frequently book and represent speakers. Like I said, personally, this is just a very me candidly sharing what I do. I haven't approached them, but it's absolutely on my list of things to do, is to start talking to agencies and bureaus and just see, again, if nothing else, kind of understand how they go about doing it. The third part of this is, like the quote, 10% of life is what happens to you and 90% is how you respond. 10% of speaking engagements is actually the engagement, and 90% is how you publicize it, capitalize on it, use it for evergreen content. Hey, Steve, thanks. Did you hear me shout out your wife? She's amazing. So anyways, the third part of this is you really need to take the speaking engagement, and like anything, I'm a party of one. Everything that I say yes to, I say no to a million other things. I have to completely put my business on pause when I'm taking a speaking engagement. So you better make sure that it's well worth your time. And how you can do that is make sure that you are promoting the event beforehand with things like this, and I should say, promoting it afterwards. Another huge thing that you need to do while you're there, and this is like, if you don't get anything else from this call, take this, or this cast, take this piece of advice with you. Have an opt-in strategy. I can't tell you how many engagements I've been to, and I've sat shoulder to shoulder and spoke next to huge presidents and CEOs of big behemoth marketing agencies. They go up, they speak. They often speak about things that are super esoteric for you. Thank you, Mary. Esoteric to you. and then they just like leave. When I go to a speaking engagement, I always give the audience actionable things they can do afterwards. And how do they get those actionable things? They opt in. So when you're at an event, the easiest way to do this is to have an opt-in code. Now, if you're like the average Joe and you're not a marketer, you're like, this sounds crazy. How do I set up a text program where people can join my email list? It's very simple. I'll give you 2 resources. If you use Lead Pages, they have a system called Lead Digits. It's what I use. Your audience just texts the number and says, like Pop Social or whatever the name of the conference is, and then boom, they're in your mail list, and you can automatically send them a recap of what they heard that day. And then you have their email for life. Like, they want to hear from you. The second thing for people who don't have all these crazy funnels and marketing tools is text to join. If you have MailChimp or other mailing services, text to join by text, is a service that really just easily links in. And it does the same thing. It'll give you a short code, and you can text in like a little code into a digit, into a short digit, and it puts them on your email list. And then people are, Dave, I love Lead Pages too. They're amazing. Love working with them. So you can set up a code that way. But either way, look at this. You have like 100 or more people when you give a public talk who are all eyes on you, like they're digesting their content. This is the biggest, most engaged audience you can have. Damn right you want to figure out a way to take that interest they have in you in that moment and get them on an email list, so then you can market or just engage, not even market to them, but engage them after. Best brand booster you can do, and you're taking that audience whose live time, again, with the time you've invested, in extending that relationship so it makes sense to you after the fact. So if you're doing a speaking engagement, make sure that you have an opt-in code. This is like the biggest takeaway I can give to you. In 5 minutes at the last speaking engagement I did back in January, my email list grew by over 60. 5 minutes. I challenge you to tell me another platform that'll increase your email list with engaged, excited people by 60 in like 2 to 5 minutes. Everybody wants to stay in touch with you. Leverage that interest. Get them onto your list. So that's the third part of it. Make sure you can promote beforehand on social media. Let people know that you're speaking. Link in with the groups that you're speaking for. If they have press, share their press. Then give the talk. And then afterwards, recap what you talked about. Not only to the people who've opted in to your list live at the event, but also to your social media following. Because again, what you're doing that way is just further branding yourself as a speaker and giving more value to a larger audience. So do that. The fourth part of this is kind of like developing a checklist for yourself. So I've gotten to the point where I've been speaking for years now. Before I even started my company, when I was running a marketing department, I was speaking. And what I've learned now is I have a checklist, sorry, I got paused there. Somebody was calling me. I have a checklist of like a must-hit list that speaking engagements need to check off. So here's how you can leverage speaking engagements even if they don't have a budget. So the last thing I should be saying on a live cast about how to get paid for speaking is reasons that you can justify not getting paid for speaking, but here they are. If this event has press, and if the press is reaching your target market, take the speaking engagement and make sure in your contract with them that they promote you and that they have press around it. Ask the event or ask the conference if they have social media tools to reach out. Do they have Snapchat live filters? Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have a Twitter page? How many posts can they put of you on their pages, right? So you want to make sure that you do that. Also, if they have a photographer or videographer, this is huge. You definitely want to make sure that you get somebody professional to capture what you're saying there. So the event that I'm doing tomorrow, they have a professional videographer there. Heck yes, I want that to happen. Even if I wasn't getting paid and I am for this event, I would probably be making it worth my while just for that, because then I have a professional video of me public speaking that I can put on my webpage, on my LinkedIn profile, on Facebook, and it shows people the kind of speaker that I am. So definitely look and make sure, do they have professional photographers? Do they have professional videographers? If you can get professional photos of yourself speaking and engaging with an audience, visual content is everything, guys. That speaks even louder than you positioning yourself with your title as a speaker. If you have pictures of you speaking in front of a huge crowd, yeah, that's gonna help you get some more speaking gigs. The other thing that you can ask to make sure, is it worth your time? Definitely be very, very upfront and candid with, what does the audience look like? All right, so a couple months ago, the PRSSA Society of, I think, like Maryland or Annapolis, had asked me to come speak. They gave to one of my speeches that I gave with the BBJ, and they said, hey, you know, like, you're really good, let's go ahead and get you to speak. They didn't have a budget, and again, I was very upfront in saying this is a part of my business that I make money on, so what is your budget for speakers? And then I asked my other list of questions, you know, do you have press around it? Are there going to be a professional, like, videographers or photographers there, making it so I can justify my time? But here's the biggest reason why I actually turned that speaking engagement down. And they're amazing, amazing society. Like, if you're in public relations, go join it. This is in no way saying that they're not an absolutely awesome, awesome group. For me, I'm in branding and marketing. So what this means is I would have taken 3 hours out of my day to drive down there, give a speech to, guess what? People who essentially do a lot of what I do. They're not going to be clients of mine. It was a smaller group. They do what I do. At that point, I'm just sharing value that they can take and then use for their clients. So again, I'm not saying it's a bad association, but you have to be really, really picky and very strategic, especially if you're a party of one, and if the audience isn't sizable, or it's not an audience of people that you really want to get in front of and who would be great clients, then don't take the gig. You're just going to be resenting the time that you spend there because you have to give it up working on other parts of your business. So make sure, just like if you were doing a Facebook ad, would you do a Facebook ad to people who are possibly competitors of yours or not clients or not ideal fits for you? No, you wouldn't spend that money. Time is money, guys. If you're going to spend time speaking, you need to make sure that the audience is people who fit your ideal client avatar, your ideal prospects. They need to be qualified, and you need to qualify them, because people who are looking to book you, they're not going to qualify them for you. You need to be the person that says, this is my list of criteria. I need to meet these things. These kind of people need to be in the audience for me to speak. So those were like my 4 big takeaways. I'll do a recap really quickly. 1, position yourself as a speaker, both internally. Give yourself permission to ask to be paid. 2, externally, make sure that on your social channels, on your website, you are labeling yourself as a speaker if you want to monetize it, if you enjoy doing it. 2, if you want to get engagements, look for people who are already getting paid to speak, pick their brain, you know, have them facilitate some introductions for you. Look at agencies and bureaus in your area. 3, make sure that you're really, really taking advantage of all the stuff before you do a speaking engagement, all the stuff afterwards. Send out emails to your list letting them know, I'm speaking here and I'm going to be shooting you some tips about what I'm speaking about. Put it out on LinkedIn, put it out on Facebook, put it out on Twitter, wherever you're active. Make sure that you're causing momentum before the event. At the event, get the opt-in, do the text code, text to join. Lead pages are great resources for this. And then after the event, make sure that you're doing a recap both on your social channels and to your email list about what I spoke about, so you can really like squeeze the value out and give people as much juicy content as you can, furthering your brand. And then the 4th thing is leverage the time. You know, be discerning. Get that checklist for yourself. Hold yourself to the checklist. It is flattering when people ask you to speak at events, but being popular isn't as good as being profitable. So you want to make sure that while flattering, you're making it worth your time. If you're going to take yourself out of your business for a day, make sure that where you're going is justifying the time that you're spending there. So there it is. If you have any other questions, let me know. Like I said, it's kind of just like a candid off the cuff how I got to the point where I was getting paid for speaking. Another thing that I will say, in the link to this live cast is a book. It is a guide, actually a step-by-step guide for how to brand yourself for things like getting free press and getting paid speaking engagements. You can click on that link, just fill out your name and email, you know the deal, and you can get a free copy of that step-by-step guide. It is 31 insane pages long. I poured all of my insider secrets out on it. In fact, a lot of people were like, you shouldn't be giving this out, but look, I'm all about providing value. So go there, check it out, let me know what you think. At the end of every single chapter and part of the guide, there's literally a list of to-do things. So it's super, you know, what you see is what you get. You can follow it and you'll get like measurable results right after. So thanks for joining me. I hope that you got a lot of great content out of this. If you have any questions, email me, kate@ladonbm.com. If that is a little tricky, just look at my name, add a BM to the end of it, .com. That's my email address, or you can Facebook message me or link in with me. Happy to share with you any tips that I have to get, you know, where I've gotten. So thanks guys, have a great day.